Chapter 14 talks about Rush Limbaugh and his failures and successes when it came to news media. It also talks about how he appeals to the Republican Party. Rush Limbaugh loved talk shows ever since he was little. He ended up getting his first big break when he was 16 years old for a local radio station. He soon got fired because of rude remarks and comments that he would make while they were on air. In the 1980s, he ended up getting another big break because there was a radio show that needed a commentator, so they hired Rush Limbaugh. People ended up loving him. They would tune into the station to hear his views on abortion, animal activism, and women's rights. He became one of the greatest commentators for the Republican Party. The news is on TV to give us factual and informal information. The problem with Rush Limbaugh is that some of the things that he talks about, there has been factual errors. So that causes a tension between the news media and Rush Limbaugh. Why should the news media play Rush Limbaugh if he's not going to give facts on the topics that he talks about? A strong point in this chapter is his topics. He talks about many things that Republicans appeal to, and how this chapter highlights it is that they would give statements on his opinions. Something that I found unclear is why he became successful. It talks about how, but it doesn't really go too far into detail on to why the things that he talked about ended up becoming so popular. This chapter confirms that people are easily persuaded. Earlier in the semester, we read a chapter on Father Coughlin. He was a talk show host as well, and he talked about Jews and how they caused the Great Depression. People tuned into him, loved him, and he became very popular. I think that this chapter kind of shows the media in a bad light. It shows that they're biased and that Rush Limbaugh only appeals to a certain type of audience. I don't think that the news should appeal to anybody, because that in turn would make them biased. They should just report the news and have people take it as they want to take it. An ethical concern is if you're interviewing somebody and you don't like their views and opinions. An obstacle that a media professional would have to get over is to put those views aside and be open-minded and listen to what the interviewee has to say. So a modern day media that has to do with this chapter is Glenn Beck. He's also a talk show host, and he has Republican views and also has the same views as Rush Limbaugh. Two questions that I have is, where do you draw the line between news reporting and entertaining the people? Because after reading this chapter, it kind of seems like they're the same, and I would like to know a difference. And then my second question is, why do people enjoy listening to such spiteful news? Because I would prefer to listen to good news, not news that talked about so many bad things.